Please limit to what I can have. Oh, I done started. I pressed play and didn't know I started recording. That's depression for you. This is Claus. Sorry I'm late. I'm depressed. Can't do too much about it. Had to gather up the energy to come out here and do this video for y'all. So, because I can barely get out of bed. I stayed in bed till about 7:30 p.m. yesterday. So I'm doing better today. It's 3:41 in the afternoon, and I'm up, and I'm out, and I'm giving you this. Y'all don't care. Claus, this episode was called Batshit. And, it was a lot going on, but also it wasn't a lot. Like, my notes are just one full page back and forth, and usually I have at least 2 pages. So, you know, not too much, but a lot still. So let me get into it. Desna. She's dialing brother nephew. She's trying to find him because, you know, he done kidnapped Kenneth. And she's still seeing Roller in the backseat. And I'm like, can he leave us alone? Can we get just some time without Roller, please? Y'all, my hair's starting to dry. It's finna look a fool because I ain't put no products in it. Nothing. Just out here. Who cares? Anyway, she picks up Candace, and Candace takes her, you know, leads her to the spot where, you know, her husband would go, brother nephew. And when they get there, they're hearing gunshots, and Kenneth is running, and, you know, eventually Desna gets in front of him and is like, you know, brother nephew, put the gun down. Like, we don't have to do this. It's not Kenneth. Kenneth didn't do it, you know. And you know, brother nephew puts the gun down, starts bawling, you know, crying down boots, and I'm just like, he is too sensitive for this life. We swoop over to Polly. Polly's waxing vaginas and all of this, and I'm just like, it's too much. It's too much. But then we swoop back over, because I really didn't understand the point of that besides just a moment of comedy. But it happened, so I'm telling you. Then we swoop back over to brother nephew and niece wife, because I've been calling her Candace, but I feel like I found out on that episode her name ain't Candace. So I'm going to call her niece wife. Brother nephew and niece wife are walking and holding hands, and you know, I wasn't going to address the fact that they had a daughter that looked like me. I wasn't going to address it because they didn't address it, but they addressed it tonight. She said she already had one baby daddy in jail, and she married brother nephew because he's different. So now we know that she has a black baby daddy. Because I was like, if they're not gonna talk about it, I'm not gonna talk about it, because I feel like this was a child of infidelity. But no, it's not. So, you know, we'll bring it up just like they brought it up. We swoop over back to the salon. And the detective brother, you know, Uncle Daddy's detective son is out here. And he's tiptoeing through the town with another detective, a lady detective named Arlene. And Arlene goes out of her way to flirt with young M.A. Judy. And I said, I don't even have to put her in gay timeout. I love it when the girls will just go to gay timeout by themselves and I don't have to put them there, you know? She's flirting down boots. I was like, that would be a cute little couple. It would be adorable. I loved it. Let me see. They go and visit. We're swooping. Swoop with me. We swoop over to a new salon with Desna. It was Desna and what's her name? Mandy or something. They're going to visit a new salon, and you know they like the salon. It's nice. Yada yada. And while they're visiting the salon, Desna's neighbor calls Carl, and he's giving way too much information. I'm like, is this supposed to be Virginia Daddy? Because he gives just as much information as she be giving. He's like, hey, this is your neighbor Carl. I live at 2300 Jackson Street right behind you. She's like, I know who you are, Carl. What's going on? He tells her that Dean is standing upon a billboard above the town acting a fool. And she's like, what? What is what? And he tells her the address. She swoops on over. And I say, you know, in my notes, I wrote, bring Virginia. She needs to you just need to have Virginia just in your pocket at all times to get Dean to act right. But she doesn't bring Virginia. She goes down to the billboard. He's over there spray painting evil people on their billboard. And she's like, Dean, come on before they call the cops. Like, let's go. Like, you're doing too much. And he's like, I hate them. They gotta die. It's too much. And she's like, all right, Dean, you need to come down. Virginia's been asking about you. He's like, no, she hasn't. You're lying. He's like, no, she's been blabbing all around the salon about you. Come on down. We'll go see her. And he says, can I at least draw testicles on their face? And Desna says, just one. Just the one. I said yes. He really needs to draw the 2. Act fast, Dean. Maybe you can squeeze 2 in there. Let's see. They're calling Desna an enabler back at the shop. We've swooped. Swoop with me. We're back at the salon, the nail tech shop joint. And they're calling Desna an enabler. They're saying that Dean needs to be in, you know, a group home or a nursing facility. And I'm like, why? He goes to the bathroom by himself. He eats by himself. He's able to make dinner. Why he need to be locked away? It didn't make sense to me. But whatever. Let me see. Let's see. Uncle Daddy calls Desna and Virginia over, and niece wife goes with him. And they bring up the fight that Desna and Virginia had. You know, somebody saw them. You remember the very first episode when they drug Virginia out by her hair and all of that? Somebody brought that up. And Uncle Daddy's like, I heard that he was screwing both of y'all and y'all didn't care for it. And they try to, you know, talk their way out of it. Like, we just, you know, we had a misunderstanding, but we cool now. It's all good. And they're talking about how something about a drug dealer. And Virginia's like, yeah, he was having trouble with his drug dealers, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, me and Desna both were looking like, why are you giving all this extra information? Who asked? I'm a who asked type of person. When I see folks on Facebook like, you know, my baby daddy just lost, you know, another tooth in a fight, I'm saying, like, who asked you? I don't care. Why you put that up? Doesn't matter. But then I'd be putting up all my drama. Not all of it, but a good portion. And then we, you know, they are dismissed from Uncle Daddy's presence. And, okay, well, before this, niece wife defends them. Is like, you ought to be ashamed blaming Desna and Virginia. They are innocent. How dare you? And I'm saying, like, niece wife, if only you knew. And then they're dismissed from Uncle Daddy's presence. Now, Auntie Mama's hollering at niece wife and giving her fever. And I'm just like, why? It's too much. Let me see. We find out that Virginia took $50,000 from the safe and Desna took about $20,000. And, you know, Virginia's like, I had to make it look like a robbery. I had to take the money. And I'm like, you didn't have to, but all right. And Desna's giving her, you so stupid, yada, yada, yada. And Virginia claps back. She reads Desna back. And I'm like, okay, you know, don't talk to your mama like that, but still. And then we swoop back over to the house and Roller's ghost is in there. And Desna kills Roller's ghost. And I'm like, how you kill him? And you killed him. You killed him and then you killed him again. Is he gonna come? Is his ghost gonna come back? It just doesn't, I don't understand. Anyway, Polly is in Virginia's domain. She's in her house baking, you know, cupcakes. And Virginia's like, what are you doing in my Caucasian home? Get out. And Polly is giving, oh, sit down, sugar baby. Let's have some cupcakes. And Virginia's like, girl. And Polly pulls out a knife. And she's like, you know, it would be really easy. This is the knife. For me to skin your hide. Like, you're so tiny. I could just kill you right now. And Virginia's like, oh, let me sit down. She sits down. And Polly is like, whatever you did, if it has something to do with Desna, and if it's going to get her in trouble, I will cut you. I will kill you. Yada, yada. And Virginia tries to kind of give a little pushback. Polly threw the knife. You can see how amazed I am in my face. She threw the knife. It went straight into the ceiling and was just stuck there. And I'm like, Polly is crazy for real. Like, I knew she was crazy, but every episode we see how much crazier she could be. Like, every episode, it's just more. And I'm like, this is delightful. I love it. And Polly makes Virginia have a cupcake. And I guess in this moment, Virginia spills tea, but they swoop around, you know, from that moment. But before that, Polly was like, you're smarter than we give you credit for. You're a lot smarter than, you know, you act. And I'm like, what is this? Is this Portia and Cynthia? You remember on Housewives of Atlanta when when Cynthia told Portia, you're not as dumb as you act. It was that moment. Y'all, somebody done hacked one of my email addresses and I don't have time. I'll worry about this in a couple hours. Like, anyway. So Desna talks to Dean about the Coonses. We have to do our exercises that the doctor gave us. You know, the Coonses are on a picture. The Coonses cannot hurt us. The Coonses, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm safe. You safe. The Coonses can't hurt us. All of that. And Dean doesn't want to, but, you know, he gets into it just to placate Desna, basically. And then we get over to, we're swooping over to, I guess, the next day or later on in the day on the beach. Dean is being trained by a new trainer. And Dean is like, I want to hurt somebody. I want to kill somebody, you know, yada, yada. And the trainer's like, what would Arnold Schwarzenegger do? And Dean is like, he would kill him, obviously. And the trainer's like, no, that's movie Arnold. Governor Arnold wouldn't do that. And Dean is like, oh, yeah, I guess, you know, Governor Arnold is a gentleman. Fine. I ain't gonna kill him. You know, he's annoyed. But he's like, you right. I'm gonna act sensible in this moment. And let me see. Dean then bursts into the salon. The trainer brought Dean to the nail salon, yada, yada. He bursts in and he's like, I want to go talk to the Coonses now. And this is like, no, that's not wise. That's not a good idea. We're not going to do that. And Dean is like, I'm going right now. And he rushes out the joint and hops in the car with the trainer. And I'm like, is Dean paying you or is Desna paying you? Because if Desna's paying for these sessions, then you need to abide by Desna's rules. But if Dean's paying, then I guess you know, your hands are tied. Because Dean gets in, he's like, drive off, let's go. And Desna obviously sits basically on the car so they can't move. And they end up going to the Coonses. And basically, well, before this, Dean gives her, I'm not your child. And I was like, you're not, but you are, though. Like, you're not, technically. But in all other senses, you are. So listen to your mama. Anyway, so they get over to the Coons' house, and they're having, you know, a showing. I guess they're real estate agents or whatever. They're showing this house, and Dean busts in giving, you know, you made us sit and pee, and we had to defecate in the backyard, and this, that, and the other. And the customers are like, we gonna come back, because I'm not sure, we'll check back with y'all. And they leave. And basically, as soon as they leave, Mrs. Coons switches immediately. And she's like, well, if it isn't Butterball, Desna, and her brother, Ricky Ritardo. And I was like, rude. Desna has lost weight. Niecy Nash has lost, you know, weight, and she looks good. And you'll never. And Dean is like a genius. And genius, just sometimes it's like that. Anyway, and they talk about, you know, how Desna and Dean's mama was a crackhead, and how Mrs. Coons was snorting coke, and Mrs. Coons says, I only snorted your people cooking. And I'm just like, you're doing too much. And then they storm out, you know, Desna and Dean storm out, and Dean is having this moment. He's like, don't tell her, Dean, don't tell her. And she's like, don't tell me what? You know, their rules don't apply. We grown now. Their rules don't apply. Tell me what happened. Dean says that they had sex with him and said that they wouldn't, that if he told, then they would do it to her. So basically, because Desna was like, I've been protecting you this whole time. And Dean's like, no, you weren't. I was protecting you. I was like, y'all were protecting each other at this point, and it's too much. So when Dean tells her that, as I've stated prior to, the Coonses got to die. When he said that to her, she was like, oh no, we got to get we got to get them out of here. They got to go. She apparently didn't assume that they had to die. I'll get back to that. We swoop back over to the next morning. Dean is in bed. Desna's in bed. And she's awakened to the sounds of gunfire. And she goes outside, and Dean's got a gun, and he's shooting, you know, he's having a little target practice out in the front yard. And Desna's like, put the gun down. He's like, we in Florida. I'm standing my ground. I'm like, she's like, where'd you get the gun from? The sporting goods store. Like, that sounds about right. The sporting goods store will sell anybody anything at any time. And he says he doesn't feel safe. And she's like, okay, well, we'll put bars on the windows, and we'll do this and we'll do that. But I can't have a gun in the house, Dean. And he's like, fine. Dean be so aggravated. Like, why won't anybody let me do what I want to do? I got to placate these people because y'all niggas won't let me do what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to kill the Coonses. They gotta die. Anyway, so Desna gets an idea. She calls Virginia, or goes to Virginia and says, you know, we're gonna pin this murder on the Coonses. And Virginia's like, no, that's not a good idea. I'm like, do y'all want to go to jail, or do you want the Coonses to go to jail? Like, honestly, pick one. And then Desna's like, we're gonna do it. And we need somebody who's going to be able to break into the Coons' house. And Virginia says, oh, I know the perfect person. It's Polly. Polly knows. She knows everything because Virginia told her. And then she's already down. She's been ready since Ready was ready. Like, they're like, we need somebody to break in. She's like, I got this. I know a man at the hotel that can scramble, you know, the wire on my house arrest bracelet, anklet thing. And I got this. We can do this, no problem. I got it. And Desna, for some reason, is thinking that they're going to go to jail. She's like, yeah, we're going to do this, that, and the other, and they're going to spend the rest of their lives in jail. And I'm like, probably not, Desna. Probably not. And so after, you know, Polly goes in, she plants a bag full of, you know, money and drugs in the house. She seduces the dog. The dog's in there growling, and she does some sort of mind Jedi trick on him, and he just lays down. And, you know, it's a good moment. They're playing Too Darn Hot, sung by Ella Fitzgerald, which is one of my favorite Ella Fitzgerald songs. So I was just enjoying the scene. And then we swoop with me back over to Desna's house. And Desna opens her drawer, pulls out a brown paper bag, pulls out a burn phone, calls the police and says that I was partying with Roller, and his drug dealers just came in and they were acting a fool, and they killed him. And I just felt like this was the right thing to do. And I'm like, Niecy Nash really turned on her Compton voice for that. If you noticed, she really sounded like she was from Compton, which she is, in that scene. Like, sometimes you can't really pinpoint, like, where Niecy Nash is from because you get so wrapped up in the quality of her voice. She has a very distinct voice quality. But her accent, her Compton accent came out when she was on that phone. I was like, you better rep your state, your city, your moment. And the detective, the black detective son tells Uncle Daddy, and Uncle Daddy says take care of it. And this is why I don't understand why Desna thought that the Coonses were going to go to jail. So detective son and brother nephew go to the Coonses' home. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. I want to swoop where the show swooped us to. And the show swooped us to Desna. I believe her name is Mandy, the real estate lady. She comes in and she's like, yeah, the salon we went to, they loved you. They, are willing to take $500 off the asking price, yada, yada. And Desna's like, yes, high five, girl. All right. And then she says, but the interesting news is the original salon you looked at, they put it back on the market. And so Desna's like, that is interesting news. I think we're going to go with that one. And Mandy's like, but the other salon is a little more cost effective, da, da, da. Desna's like, I don't care. I made my brother a promise. I've got to keep that promise. And I understand that. And she says that she's not one to settle. This is Desna talking. She says she's not one to settle. And she says that Mandy needs to leave her husband, basically. And she needs to go and get her a cheeseburger immediately. And I guess Mandy's going to leave her husband because that's what it was looking like. So then, they're celebrating the win, the fact that, we're possibly about to get this new salon. We're clapping. Young M.A. Judy puts on Lady Marmalade. And they're dancing. They're doing a little dance number and, swoops and gyrations. And while they're doing that, detective son and brother nephew and some goons burst into the Coons' house. They start beating them down, beating them, whooping, punching the woman, pistol whipping the man, kicking them, this, that, and the other. And detective son gets the gun. He's got it pointed. Brother nephew steps in front of him and stops him. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Brother nephew done got some good sense, and he's just not going to kill these people because he knows he can't deal with that. I was wrong. Because brother nephew starts kicking him. And then he shoots, pop, 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 Mr. Coonses. Then he shoots, pop, pop, pop. I'm painting the visual. Can you see? Pop, pop, pop. Shoots Mrs. Coons. And now they're dead. And Uncle Daddy calls Desna and says, sorry, we thought it was y'all. We found out who it was, and they are dead. And Desna, for some reason, is shook. Like, did you think Uncle Daddy was going to let the murderers of his nephew's son just live? You thought not, obviously. And so she's shook because the Coonses are dead. And then wife niece asks, was it her husband, brother nephew? And Desna has to tell her yes. And she is crying down. And then Desna tells Dean, the Coonses can't hurt us, like, for real, any longer. And he says, how do you know? And she's like, I know. I know for sure. And then we swoop over to some strange scene that made it look like Roller is living in with us. And I'm just like, what is this? Like, it's an old woman, and she's, like, I'm your mistress or something like that. I don't know what she said. But it was peculiar. I was peculiar. And that was the episode. Like, comment, and subscribe. All the things the YouTubers say. All my information is down below. Natea's information always down below. And that's it. I'm finna pop back in. I got 2 more videos to do. And then I can go figure out what to do with my hair. Peace.